Hey there, Ride the Car Guy here, and today let's keep chipping away at the Titan. This video is part of a series. I think this is like the 8th video in the series, and if you want to start from the beginning, go ahead and click the upper right-hand corner of the screen so you can see the playlist. So subscribe to follow along to part 8 and beyond. I don't know, to 10, 12, 13, however many videos this takes. But we have plenty to do today, so let's jump right in. Everything is exactly how we left it in the last video. We just have the front end removed, and we're gonna go and just keep chipping away at basically everything that connects the engine to something on the body of the truck. We're gonna start with some easy stuff. Let's pull off the engine cover, which in my case has some catch cans on it, and then pull off the air intake. You should have two 10mm bolts at the front, and then you're just gonna have some kind of pressure clips in the back to pull off. Now for me, I'm gonna have to pop this off and then kind of set it aside or pull it back so I can disconnect these hoses. And I think to make things easier, I'm just gonna remove them from the catch cans. All right, with those disconnected, we'll just set it aside, and I'll probably have to empty those cans. For the intake, just take off your flow sensor. That's just a little electrical connector. Loosen the throttle body connection, and then the connection to the air box. And then back here, you have two hoses you wanna take off, and that's just gonna take your needle nose, slide those clips back and yank the hoses. Once they're broken loose, I'm gonna remove the main connections first. There we go. And it's gonna make it a little bit easier to pull those other ones out. I'm gonna pop this off as well, it makes it easier. Your airflow sensor line has a little clip on it. Make sure you have that removed. And then just pop off the two clips on top. Pull that away. Oh, looks like we have, that's our front diff breather hose. So if you have four-wheel drive, you'll have to disconnect this. It's another one of those just little retaining clips. And then set that aside. On the left side of the engine, we have an AC line we're gonna wanna remove because that goes to the compressor, a vacuum line on our booster, evap line going to the engine into a hard line down here, fuel line we need to disconnect. At a glance, I think that's it. Let's start chipping away at it. Vacuum line for your booster is easy. Just another one of those clips you wanna grab and loosen, slide back. There we go. Now when you're pulling this off, you wanna put some pressure on here with another finger. Make sure you're not damaging this connection. There we go, pop that off. It has a little retaining clip on this AC line. Grab that. We're actually gonna pull the whole intake off because I have engine slingers. So that'll come out once we pull the manifold. I'm just gonna tape this off with some masking tape. I like to be paranoid about it. I don't wanna get anything in there, especially if we end up cleaning the engine bay or anything crazy like that. Next, let's tackle our AC line. That's gonna be a 12mm on there. There we go. It's gonna have an O-ring in it, so you have to just pull apart from both sides. I'm gonna grab the screw, put it back in, and then a plug for that one. There we go. Tuck this to the engine side. We'll figure out what to do with this in a little bit. It's gonna just sit with the engine, but we'll find a place for it. Evap is, again, a real easy one. Pull this back, it's next to your fuel line. I like to disconnect it from where it goes to the hard line. I just find it a little easier to pull. Break it loose by twisting it. Not too hard though, because you'll shred that thing. It's nice that most of the stuff's already been disconnected before. When you get close to finishing, you'll see like a really clear, distinct line down the side of the engine where nothing really crosses its path. The only thing we have left to tackle is that fuel line on this side, and I think we're good to go. All right, now for the fuel line. There's a little protective cover here. You can just pop that off by pushing on the rear of it. Comes right off. And before we go any further, make sure that you have fully depressurized your fuel system. In the last video, I showed you how to do that. You just pull the fuse on the fuel pump and then start the truck, or try to start the truck, and make sure that it's fully depressurized. Then we just grab our little fuel disconnect tool. I'm using the blue one out of my set. I'll put a link down in the description below for these tools in case you need to pick these up. But this splits in two, so we just fit it around the fuel line and we wedge it between the two. So you'll see there's kind of a lot of space here. We just slide it around and into the other connection. So what we're gonna do is we're going to push on this side, then push the tool in, and then pull the whole thing off. I'm gonna put a little bit of paper towel under here because it always spills at least a little bit. Okay, looks like we're ready to go. Push the tool in, just like that, and then pull the whole thing off. There we go. Super easy. Pull my tool off. I'm gonna pop this off and then tilt it into my paper towel and try to get as much fuel out of it as I can. In fact, you can bring it down the side of the engine too. Let gravity help you out with it. Excellent. Very little actually came out this time. I was very happy with that. So I'm gonna seal up both of these. I'm gonna put a little bag on them. I certainly don't have plugs this small, but you do wanna cover these with something because it just makes everything kind of stink and it's not good for you. So I'm gonna do that. All right, both sides are good. I just have little baggies with some low lint towels in them. I wouldn't use like dirty or high lint towels, so you don't want a bunch of stuff in your fuel lines, but that's gonna help reduce the smell, and if any additional gas spills out, it'll just soak it up. All right, on the right side, we have heater hoses, engine harness, power steering, and the negative battery cable. I think that's it. Wow, that's pretty nice. Let's get the part that I don't like over with, and that's the engine harness. Now, I want a little more space to work back here, so I'm gonna pull the battery box. It looks like it's just 3 12 millimeters. And it looks like it's sort of latched back here by 2 clips. Let's see what the, all right, that's annoying. It has these they're just clips here. It looks like they don't go in far enough to release. Let's just find something to push. Yeah, there's one. There we go. Just wasn't playing along for a minute there. Okay, it looks like there's more connecting this. Ugh. All right, if I pull up on this real hard, it comes out. Just has a little retaining clip right here. I'm gonna pull that aside, which is good because that's actually, oh no, that's not on the engine harness, whoops, whatever. And that exposes another 12 millimeter bolt back here that you need to pull out. All right, all of that for a little bit of clearance might not be worth it, but you know me, I like to make more work for myself. And this, oh gosh, there's a harness connected to it too. Ugh. There we are. My God, that was annoying. On the bright side, it should make our next steps easier because we need to get to a bolt down there. Now, your main engine harness is comprised of parts that go into your box with the IPDM. There's, I think, 4 connectors we need to take out there. Of course, one goes straight to your ECM, your computer, and you have one that goes to the fusible link on the battery. Once we pull those 3 out, we should be able to lay the harness against the engine. If we disconnect this off our fusible link, this guy here, and this ground, we should be able to leave the alternator harness connected to the engine when we pull. So let's do all of that. This is probably a little tough to see, so I apologize in advance, but the portion of the harness that goes into the box with the IPDM can be accessed by pulling up. Normally there's little clamps here, these aren't working, but you slide this up and it exposes that portion of the harness. You can lift it out. Once, of course, you disconnect it. Once you pull that out though, you'll be able to see what connectors it goes to and what needs to be removed. So it looks like 1, 2, 3, and yes, 4. One over here needs to get pulled out. The beauty is these are just really simple connectors where you just push on the little clip and pull it out. Just like that, you pull that one and then pull the clip and that's it. This one, this big one is on the side, right there. That one and that one. Yeah, really easy. Now this portion of the harness, which has this little gray connector on the side too, kind of covering it up. I'll pull that off just so it has space. That whole thing should be able to pull back now. Excellent. For the ECM connection, the main connection for the harness, it just has a little lock here. Push that down, flip the arm back. You'll see these popping up. There you go. And once it's all the way down, you should be able to remove it. There you have it. They call it the SMJ or something, super multiple junction or whatever. For this one, I am gonna put a little baggie over it because I don't want anything getting in there. All right, on our fusible link, we need to lose this one here. That goes down to our generator or alternator. And this one here goes straight to the engine harness. These are 12 millimeter. You can kind of hold them in place. If they give you any trouble, you can just throw an extension. I have an impact extension in here, kind of give you more leverage. There we go. Same story with this guy. And then once they're loose, they're easy to pull off. I'm just gonna slide this out and then put the terminal back on so I don't go losing it. Same for this one, I'm gonna pull it off and then I'm gonna put the nut back on the stud. So the engine harness is nearly free. There's a bracket down here. Looks like it's probably a 10 millimeter. I'll just disconnect it at the bracket because I hate sliding those little harness clips off. And then we have to take the ground off for the generator sub-harness. And that should be all the electrical on this side. Again, with our bolts, slide them back where you just got them out. And I actually like to leave them loose too, so that way it's obvious that something was supposed to go there. And now if we sort of juggle this little mess here, that bracket I removed, I probably shouldn't have. I probably should have just slid the actual harness off of it. As you can see, 2 other harnesses are connected to it. So against my will, I'll slide it off, but then that's gonna let our harness go all the way back, flip back. And this generator harness is the same story. We have a little retaining clip here that once we pop off, we can set against the engine. All right, these, if you put a little flathead in there, pull back, supposedly supposed to come off. There we go. And then that slides out. Put that against the engine, somewhere safe. And then same story with this in there, pull back, it comes out. There. Okay, so I'm gonna reinstall that screw and just let the harnesses lie where they lie. Once you've done that, you can take the relay box back out because they're kind of intertwined with each other. So take that relay box back out and you can kind of just gently set it back where it was originally. And now we are done. We're done with the electrical harness. Now we just have to take the negative off of its mount. The negative battery cable is just attached to a bracket here. Ooh, it didn't like that. Looks like I have to be more gentle, which I hate. There it goes. Oh my gosh. Getting the sense that I'm gonna break this. Oh yeah, snapped right off. Whatever. That's it, I'm scrapping the whole truck. All right, with that disconnected, I'm just wrapping it around the power steering reservoir. With all of that moved aside, now is a good time to go ahead and remove our computer. To do that, we can disconnect the other connector coming from the vehicle. Flip that up just like the last one. All right, that comes off. And then there's a 10mm bolt absolutely buried behind this. And I complained about this last time, so I'll make it quick. But there's a slotted hole up here and there's a non-slotted hole down there. You think they would do the opposite, but you have to fully remove that bolt and then fully remove this one to get the computer out. For this, I want to employ my ratcheting wrench. Perfect for this type of job, so I'm going to slide it down there. There we go. Great shame on this design, I gotta say. It really peeves me that the top is slotted. If neither were slotted, I wouldn't be so annoyed. But they have a slotted one on the top. It's like, come on, guys. All right, there we go. All right, I'm gonna bag this one as well. Keep it safe. You need to use it in your build. Since we're on the subject of wiring, it looks like there is a body ground, much like the one I forgot on the Xterra engine pole. Back connected to the cylinder head, and what else? I think that would be it, but when we go to disconnect our power steering, I'm gonna wanna take out this wheel well cover anyway, so I'm gonna go do that, and it should make the rest of this pretty easy. All right, if you watch my channel, you watch me take one of these things off probably 9 times by now, so I'm not gonna go into great detail, but follow the edge of the wheel well cover and pull off all the screws, including on your mud flaps, and then grab your body panel clip remover tool. There's a couple. In here, I probably only have 2. Yeah, I have 2 in here, but there's a couple classic body panel clips, and then that way we can access the whole right side of the engine. All right, down here we just have one body ground. It's right there, and we're gonna pull that off. Then of course put the bolt back in. We'll tuck that up there. And down here we're also gonna be able to access the banjo bolt on the power steering pump. That is a 24mm. I'm just gonna throw an impact on it. Makes it easy for me. And I do have a drain pan underneath it in case we got some craziness going on here. Slide that on there. There we go, nice and easy. And sure enough, we're getting some leaking, which is not surprising. There we go. There's a copper washer there, grab that. Probably shouldn't reuse it. I already have enough leaks in the power steering on here. And then just slide that away. Now there's gonna be an electrical connector right here. Hopefully you can see that. Can you see that? This one right here. And that's gonna be your pressure sensor. So just disconnect that. There we go. And now we can sort of strap this. I don't know, how do we wanna do this? Maybe bend it down here, sort of strap it back here. And then I'm gonna take that banjo bolt and just throw it back in. Certainly not gonna seal it by any means, but we're not gonna lose it that way. Then I'm gonna use the old bag method, make sure that gets wrapped up so it's not dripping everywhere. Good enough. On the front, there is a power steering hose from the reservoir down to, a hard line that goes to the rack or whatever. And that one, I just wanna grab whatever I have lying around, break it loose, and then just get our drain pan again, just in case, and pop that off. And bone dry? Yeah, it's dry, perfect. So this side will come off with the engine, and then we just have to watch that hard line as we pull. All right, the only thing we have left on this side before it looks like we're done is just these 2 heater hoses. If I just take one more look, I think we're in pretty great shape. Let's pull these heater hoses and then we'll go under the truck for a little bit, knock out a couple things before we end this video. Our 2 heater hoses go, of course, to our heater core, and theoretically they should be easy. Probably shouldn't say that. If we just take our clips off, and then I always like to break them loose, just sort of twist them a little bit. There's one, twist the other one. Don't damage them. There we go. I don't even know if we're gonna be using these, but just be careful nonetheless, And then, oh, you know what? It's about to come off, but let's go ahead and make sure we have something down there to catch any antifreeze that might come out. Sure enough, just loosening this is creating sort of a release of vacuum or something. So I just threw a coffee tin down there. It's actually coming out the front, which is interesting. It's coming out right here. Maybe just, maybe it was vacuum locked or whatever they call it. Pull that the rest of the way. Oh yeah, that's a lot. All right, this is one of those spots where it's just gonna get everywhere, honestly, so we just kinda gotta let it happen. There's one and the other. See what happens here. All right. We just lift up, create some gravity. It'll piss out the front. I got to see if my Super Clean rep will sell me this stuff in like a 50-gallon drum or something. I use this more than anything else. All right, I hate to be overly optimistic because usually it kind of comes back to bite you, but this is actually going very, very well. It looks like we have everything disconnected that needs to come off of at least the engine going to the truck. I don't think this is like a 35-minute video yet, so I want to make sure that it is. Let's go underneath and take care of a few things down there before we end the video. And then in the next video, it'll just be pulling the engine. All right, under here, we're going to get some stuff out of the way. There's a little skid plate that sort of spans between cross members. Then we're going to remove the rear cross member and then the propeller shaft, the front propeller shaft, and we'll drop the front diff for good measure. In the rear, we'll pull the rear, sort of the main propeller shaft, and then that'll probably be it for the day. So up front, those should just be 4 12 millimeters. Then I'm gonna get those other two from the front. Awesome. We'll just throw that aside, and I'm gonna throw these bolts back in. And now we're clear to take off this cross member. This should be 17s all the way around. Not only is it a lot more pleasant under this one, because I recently had this all apart and cleaned it and painted it, but it's also a lot higher because I raised it up. Oh my God, it's so loud. You should probably be wearing ear protection, you know? There we go. Give that the old wiggle. Awesome. Set it aside. Next up, we're going to tackle our front of the front propeller shaft. Should be 14s, yep. And there's 4 of them up front and 4 of them in the rear. And you want to make sure that before you do the final removal, I mean, you could start loosening them now, but before you do the final removal, you want to make sure that you mark this. So like put a mark from here to here so you know you can install it the way that it was removed. Because these are usually balanced. I think this one, yeah, there's a weight on it somewhere. I know there is on the rear, so. With these, they're designed where they sit against this U-joint housing. With these, the bolt is designed to not spin, so we just have to take the nuts off of the back. So I'm gonna break the bottom 2 loose, and then I'm gonna come back, and I'm gonna break the lowers on the back as well, and then we're gonna rotate. Same story back here, just break these loose. Wow, what super strong, burly man torqued these down last time? They're real hard. All right, you guys know what I gotta do. Gotta go foot method. There we go. Next up, I'm gonna make sure that it's in neutral. If it's not, just use the override switch. You just push down and move it. And then I'm gonna lift one of my wheels and then rotate it so that propeller shaft rotates the bolts that are at the top and puts them at the bottom so I can access them. As I rotate, that should rotate as well. And there we go. Then we're gonna drop it to lock it back in place and now go pull off those other 4. All right, with all of those loose, I'm gonna take the rear off first. I'm just backing the nuts off. And I also added new marks. My old ones were looking a little sad. All right, you may have to move it back and forth. Oh, that one just dropped, that's good. If we just give it a little shake. There we go. Shake it a whole bunch, pull it out. Okay, here we have it. You know what? Let's just pull the rear propeller shaft and then call it a day. I'm kind of over it today, and I have a special delivery coming that you'll learn about in a later video. So I got to get prepared for that, and dropping the front diff isn't fun. So why do now what you can do later, right? So set this aside and let's go pull that rear shaft off. All right, now unfortunately, unlike the Xterra, we can't get an impact on here. So I just have a 17 millimeter on there. Yep, it fits. And then we just go back through. I could probably get the bottom 2 and then have to rotate just like last time. That'll be easiest. Okay, wait a second, that's gonna tighten it, isn't it? Oh, what a genius. All right, go to the other side. All right, rotate. All right, then just back them out and slide it off. All right, we just let that sit, let that thing drain out a little bit, and then we'll pull it out and probably just throw it in the bed of the truck. That is going to conclude our episode. Now, next time, all we need to do is remove the front diff, lower that down, kneel the truck. So basically take the front tires off and get it as low as we can. Then we'll take off our intake and our starter, and that's gonna allow us to hook up all 3 engine slingers, and then we'll just yank this thing out. If you have any questions about this process, go ahead and put them down in the comments below. If you aren't subscribed yet, please go ahead, scroll down, click the like button, and subscribe. I'm always making content on Nissan SUVs and trucks. And that's gonna do it, my friends. We'll see you next week.